President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, announced a process of exchange unification that will govern in the Caribbean island as of January 1, 2021. On Thursday in Chile, social organizations and families of citizens detained during the social explosion in 2019 take to the streets of the country to demand the government of Sebastián Piñera a pardon. China has tightened its COVID-19 response measures while ramping up coronavirus testing capabilities after new sporadic reports of cases. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. This Thursday, President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez, announced a process of exchange unification that will govern in the Caribbean island as of January 1, 2021. The Cuban president also announced that the exchange rate will be 24 Cuban pesos to the $1.
To release an important information to our village announces for today's night. It has been decided by the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cuba to inform our people of the beginning of the task of ordering the name given to the process of monetary and exchange unification, and to the rest of the necessary transformation that accompanied. The corresponding evaluations and analyses have been completed, as well as all necessary legal standards. Therefore, it is considered that the conditions are created to announce that the start of the task from the 1st of January 2020 with a single exchange rate of 24 Cuban pesos for $1. Reiterate the importance of this task, which will put the country in a better position to carry out the transformation demanded by the updating of our economy and social model on the basis of guaranteeing to all Cubans the greatest equal opportunities, rights, and social justice.
In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro Moros held a meeting with the elected lawmakers of the Great Patriotic Poll in last Sunday's parliamentary elections.
That's why Venezuela raised its voice last December the 6th for a new assembly that was born of the people's vote. We have a national assembly, legal, constitutional, legitimate, of the people. We have triumphed by the way of the vote, of democracy, of peace, of legality. On the road to the Constitution, congratulations.
And President Nicolás Maduro also called on the 253 lawmakers of the revolutionary forces to create a plan for national dialogue.
I want to ask you to make a plan, a solid starter plan. I will name that plan the 200th plan, and named it after the first 200 days of the year 2021, which is the year of the bicentennial of Carabobo. 200 plan of a new National Open Door Assembly, a plan to establish action dialogue, to call for action dialogue. It's not a dialogue for us to bite our tail and turn around. It's a dialogue to find consensus, solutions, and apply them immediately to all levels of the Republic.
And this Thursday, Argentina's President Alberto Fernández announced the signing of a contract with the Russian Direct Investment Fund to vaccinate over 10 million people against COVID-19. The Russian Federation will send a first shipment to the Sputnik V vaccine to Argentina before the end of the year in order to immediately immunize 300,000 citizens. Another batch will arrive during the month of January to vaccinate another 5 million, and in February the rest of the doses are set to arrive in the country. President Fernández noted that in total there will be enough doses of vaccine to 10 million Argentines between January and February. His government also signed a clause for a supplies preference in more doses are required to vaccinate another 5 million people in March.
We have come to inform you that yesterday we signed a contract with the Sovereign Fund of the Russian Federation that guarantees the delivery of Russian vaccines to Argentina. This is the third contract that Argentina has signed. The first was with AstraZeneca at Oxford University. The second was with COVAX, which is an agency, an organization created by the United Nations. And the third is precisely this, which we signed with the Sovereign Fund of the Russian Federation.
Y el tercero es precisamente el...
In Peru, the Congress approved a resolution to reform the current constitution in order to eliminate parliamentary immunity. The proposal amends Article 93 of the Constitution referring to parliamentary immunity to give the Supreme Court powers through the commission of common crimes to charge congressmen during the exercise of their mandate. The motion passed with 103 votes in favor, 14 against, and 3 abstentions, must now be ratified at a later session by at least 87 legislators to be definitely enacted. The chairman of the parliamentary committee promoting the measure, Omar Cheshad, said that the parliamentary immunity has already fulfilled a historical cycle and must be retooked and totally eliminated from the constitutional order. In Paraguay, the Secretary General of the Citizen Participation Party, Gustavo Rodriguez, expressed the importance of protecting human rights in the country.
Vindicate this day because at this moment in the region and in the country there is a neo-fascist wave that tries to restrict rights and return to an old discourse, to a dead discourse, to a discourse of repression, to a discourse of dictatorship. And that is no coincidence because it is being organized regionally from the Bolsonaro government and with the Trump line with which they share large segments of the oligarchy to the sector of Mario Benitez.
And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Chile, social movements and relatives of citizens detained during the widespread social unrest of 2019 took to the streets this Thursday to demand that President Sebastián Piñera's administration grant them a pardon. The day of mobilizations comes as part of international activities to mark Human Rights Day. Relatives of those detained during the anti-government protests stressed that they have been held in custody for over a year without any proof presented they are guilty of a crime. They denounced the government for adopting this measure as a means to postpone the judicial process and delay their release. Official reports detail that over 28,000 people were detained during the peaceful demonstrations of 2019. And also this Thursday, Colombian social movements demonstrated in defense of life and interjection of the ongoing and escalating violence in indigenous and rural territories. The mobilizations called by the District Association of Education Workers took place in several cities. In the capital, Bogotá, protesters rallied in Bolivar Square. Meanwhile, in Guatemala, members of rural, indigenous, and social movements gathered in front of the public prosecutor's office to demand the resignation of the Attorney General, given his lack of attention and action to tackle violence and corruption within the government. The march, which was delayed after several protesters were arrested on the Inter-American Highway, headed to the central square of Guatemala City to also demand the resignation of President Alejandro Giammattei, who is accused of failing to comply with his obligations. And the growing protests in India against 3 new laws on agricultural reforms have spilled over to the U.S. city of New York. Indian farmers have been protesting the laws for nearly 2 months in the northern states of Punjab and Haryana. The situation escalated 2 weeks ago with tens of thousands marched to the capital, New Delhi, where they have been blocking a highway for 2 weeks and clashed with police. On Thursday, dozens of protesters in New York City waved colorful yellow banners, chanted slogans, and even paraded in a tractor during a rally outside the offices of the Consulate General of India. The protesters say the laws, passed in September, will deregulate the agricultural sector, leading to a drop in crop prices and income.
Nearly 90% of the farmers, 95% of the farmers have less knowledge on these topics. You cannot simply ask them or urge them to come on the front and try try to sign such bills or such contracts which are not possible for them to execute. And the people around the world needs to recognize that the Sikhs are demanding to repeal the farmer laws in a peaceful fashion, and the government of India must understand this.
On Thursday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the United States and its allies of exploiting the coronavirus pandemic to further place their interests above others.
Such global cataclysm must be confronted by uniting and rising above conjunctural disagreements. This is Russia's firm position, stated by the president more than once. But unfortunately, a number of countries, first of all, United States and its allies, try to exploit this situation for their own geopolitical interests. They place their egoistic interests above universal human ones. There are attempts to contain development of new world centers, punish those who conduct independent foreign policies. We see it also in a so-called race of vaccines.
And European Union leaders on Thursday resolved a bitter dispute with Poland and Hungary and salvaged the bloc's landmark post-coronavirus recovery plan as the threat of an imminent no-deal Brexit loomed large. Leaders were looking to salvage the EU's €1.8 trillion as $2.1 trillion budget and coronavirus recovery package, seen as vital for the continent's battered economies, after it was blocked by Hungary and Poland over provisions linking it to the respect for rule of law.
We fight for our rights, we fight for clarity, we fight for certainty of law, and we fight for the treaties so that they are not circumvented by the secondary law. And all this was possible thanks to our cooperation, thanks to cooperation.
This was only one step. There is still one more difficult obstacle, and this is the ratification of that agreement by the national parliament. So we did our job, the best one as we can, but now still there is a chance for the national parliaments to discuss and to approve what we have.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. China has tightened its COVID-19 response measures while ramping up coronavirus testing capabilities after sporadic cases being reported in some parts of the country. In southwest China's Chengdu city, where several locally transmitted cases were reported in the last few days, 2 people already under quarantine as close contacts of previously reported patients were diagnosed as confirmed cases and 2 others were confirmed as asymptomatic cases, the city's health authorities said on Thursday. North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region also reported 1 new domestically transmitted COVID-19 case in the last day, local health authorities said on Thursday. And defense ministers of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations countries, ASEAN, held a virtual meeting under the chairmanship of Vietnam. The participants updated the cooperation links between the members of the association and reviewed the results of the enlarged conference of senior defense officials of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ADSOM. Among the common aspects reviewed as the impact of the pandemic in the region and the functioning of the cooperation mechanism designed to address it efficiently and effectively. The defense authorities of the 10 Asian member countries participated in the meeting. An expert committee convened by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has voted in favor of recommending the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use approval. A special Food and Drug Administration advisory panel recommended broad distribution of what will be the first COVID-19 vaccine to be used in the United States, clearing the way for the FDA to grant emergency authorization as early as Friday. The final voting tally, following a day-long public hearing of the safety and effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech, was 17 in favor, 4 against, and 1 abstention. The panel's decision came as COVID-19 infections continue to surge across the U.S., having already claimed over 290,000 lives. And the governor of the U.S. state of Florida said Thursday that the state will receive 179,000 doses of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine within a week, which could go to the nursing home patients and the healthcare workers most exposed to the virus. Florida has seen a resurgence of the virus since mid-October and an upswing in deaths since November.
79,400 doses of the Pfizer vaccine for our first shipment, and we anticipate receiving these initial doses within the week. We are working to get as much vaccine for our citizens as possible, but Florida will not, nor will any state, have enough to vaccinate everyone right off the bat. Our top priority is residents of long-term care facilities. They are at the greatest risk, and this vaccine could have a positive impact on them, not just protecting them from COVID, but allowing them to return to a more normal life. Also, a top priority is healthcare workers who are in high risk and high contact environments. And those initial two priorities will be the focus of the 179,000 doses that we've initially received from the federal government.
In the Central Africa region, the COVID-19 pandemic has generally been placed under control, thanks to early measures enforced by the governments to limit the spread of the virus at a high socioeconomic cost.
Seems generally under control in the sub-region, with only 13,470 active cases as of 7th December, for a total of 88,422 cases and 1,614 deaths officially reported since the beginning of the pandemic, although in recent days the number of infections in some countries have been on the rise again, thus delaying the lifting of some of the restrictions imposed to counter the evolution of the pandemic.
Legislators in the Democratic Republic of Congo began to debate a bid to remove the National Assembly's Speaker this Thursday in the latest round of a bitter dispute between President Félix Tshisekedi and supporters of his predecessor, Joseph Kabila. After extraordinary scenes in the parliament this week, when police were brought in to a point to break Tshisekedi's measures, members of parliament began debating a petition to force out pro-Kabila Speaker Janine Mabura. The petition, filed with supporters of Tshisekedi, follows an announcement by the president on Sunday that he was to end his coalition government agreement with the pro-Kabila Common Front for the Congo Party. Kabila supporters have accused Tshisekedi of breaching the constitution. And Ghana's opposition presidential candidate John Mahama has rejected the results of the country's general elections, in which current President Nana Akufo-Addo secured a second term with 51.59% of the vote, ahead of Mahama with 47.36%. Former President Mahama said the outcome was the vote was fraudulent, and he will take all legitimate steps to reverse the result.
Since the election has been a deliberate attempt targeting 5 constituencies of the 140 to steal and thus subvert the people's verdict. A closer look and detailed examination of the constituency-specific facts casts very dark clouds on our democracy.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also, if you feel so inclined, please follow us in social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.